Hey, welcome to today's Daily Walk Gospel Edition. And every Saturday, or most Saturdays, I go for an hour run and I listen to gospel music. And then me and Jesus, I call him my coach, we talk. We talk on a topic. And he planted a topic in my head Thursday. He wanted to discuss the George Floyd situation that occurred, or travesty, I should say. And I said, I don't want to talk about that, so I kind of showed up Saturday morning to my run, got the energy going, and I was kind of hoping that he would forget about it. And yeah, he didn't forget about it. So I wanted to share our conversation today. And what he said, Jesse, started with a question. There was three of us walking, and he said, how are people reacting? How are my children reacting to this travesty? And I said, well, some are very angry. Some are very inspired to get a message out there. Some are extremely saddened. Some are recluse. I mean, we're getting all different types of reactions. And he said, do you remember when my friend Marcus Schrader, he's a chaplain here in Indiana, and he did a training for our business development group on grief. And Jesus said, what was the number one take-home point of that training? And I said, well, the number one take-home point of that training was that we all grieve differently, and there's not a right or wrong way to grieve. And, I kind of stood back and I said, you know what? Maybe I've been a little bit unempathetic to how people are grieving. There's not a right or wrong way to grieve, and we can't, as members of the body of Christ, we can't judge how one person grieves over another. We're all going to grieve separately. And I thought we were kind of making some good headway. I'm like, you know what, Jesus, that's a good point. You're right. I'm going to be more empathetic, and we all grieve differently. And then he threw this question at me. This was the second point. He said, well, how are you grieving? Me? How am I grieving? I mean, Jesus, my calling is I'm trying to cure obesity. I'm trying to end obesity. I'm trying to, my dad's got the Alzheimer's. I'm trying to study and research that. I also have a calling, I believe, to try to free children sex slaves. I try to donate to that and increase awareness. And he said, yeah, I understand. That that's your role. But how are you grieving to this? And he put a song in my head. And the song was an old song I used to sing as a kid. I'm not going to sing it, but basically the song was, we are many parts and we are all one body. So the point being, for me not to grieve right now, being aware of what's going on, is the equivalent of saying, you know what, the left arm is broke, but you know what, the right arm doesn't do anything about it. We're all one body. And when one of us falls, we all take a hit. When we're aware of one person hurting, one person in anguish, we all need to come together. If there's a cancer in the bone, the heart might need to do its part and say, you know what, I'm going to pump blood over there. Antibodies, we all might play a slightly different role. And that was the third point. And this third person that was walking with us kind of whispered something into Jesus' ear. And he kind of said, that's a great question. And the third point is, he said, well, okay, good. We've got through 2 points here. What are you doing? What is your role? So first we went from being empathetic, being understanding of how we all grieve, to grieving ourselves, to now stepping up in our role. And that's, I said, Jesus, I need your help. I don't know what my role is, and he said, really? You don't know what your role is? Maybe my role, and we could talk about your role if you like, maybe my role is to be more understanding. Yes, is there violence going on? Is that deplorable? Should there not be violence going on? No. But you know what? Walk just a few steps in someone else's shoes. I would never condone violence, nor would my man JC. But if we just understand the hurt, there's an old saying, hurt people, and there's some hurt people out there. We should be hurt. We should be hurt. The body took a hit. So maybe our role is one of, when we see violence, when I saw violence, my first thing would be to call my buddy and be like, oh man, this violence is baloney. You know what? Maybe instead, we just need to take some peace and calm and pray. Maybe that's our role, just to be aware. Maybe our role might be a more financial role. Like, hey, we need to donate. We need to increase some awareness. Maybe our role is to just start the day in peace. Maybe our role is to pray for the families that have been directly affected. But we all, as one body of Christ, we all have a role, including myself. Okay, and that doesn't mean that we leave our calling or anything. No, we continue to do our calling, but we also play our role when the body of Christ is injured. And the body of Christ is injured right now, and it needs us all to come together. And, you know, kind of in ending is we were kind of just parting ways and ending the conversation. And this third person, I can't tell you who this third person that was walking with us was, but I can tell you, he kind of drew quite closer, and I felt an energy. And initially I felt anger. It wasn't towards me. I just felt anger. And then I felt love. Then I felt a man who's yearning, who misses his family. I felt a man who was trying to forgive. You know, Jesus was linked arms with him. And it was, he's got a journey ahead of him. And I thought, you know what? just like this man was, he was angry, he was wronged, he missed his family, but he has love, strength, compassion in his heart. And he's on his journey to forgiveness. He wasn't there yet. That's why Jesus was linked arms with him. That's why Jesus is walking with him right now. Because it's hard to forgive. It's hard for him to forgive. It's hard for us to forgive. So I think whoever this man was, I mean, I could take a guess. You know, our celestial bodies, I think, look different than our earthly bodies. But I think that's maybe my role, is to just follow his footsteps and step into forgiveness. So maybe that's our role. Maybe that's the role that we play in today's world, is we step into a role linked arms with Christ, because I'm probably not strong enough to forgive on my own. You know, if I were wronged or was wronged or whatever, I need to link arms with Jesus and do that. And that's maybe our role. So I hopefully that if you heard anything that you disagree with, I hope that you understand this is just a conversation that I had with two men. You know, you don't have to agree with our conversation. You don't have to be a part of that conversation. But hopefully this conversation did sink into your hearts a little bit. And I wish you blessings, and I wish you strength in your steps into forgiveness and your steps into creating the best body of Christ that we all possibly can.